Good evening, and welcome to Late Night Science, where the universe slows down enough for us to listen, where thought drifts like light through fog, and even the heaviest questions become soft enough to hold. Tonight, we begin at the place where light itself begins to listen. Light moves at the fastest speed possible, yet gravity can slow it down. So, what invisible thread ties the two together? Before we begin, take a moment to breathe. Notice where you are, the room around you, the faint hum of life still moving. Maybe you are listening from a city that never sleeps, or from a quiet room where the night has already folded around you. Wherever you are part of this shared stillness. Tell us softly in the comments below where you drift from tonight. Which corner of the world you let this quiet find you in. And as we wander through this cosmic calm together, remember to rest a little longer with us. Subscribe, and thank you to those already here, returning each night to float through thought and starlight. You are the reason this quiet keeps expanding. Now, let us begin. Imagine the universe before sound, before motion, only a soft darkness suspended in endless potential. Then, from that silence, light emerges. Not as a blaze, but as a whisper, a ripple across nothingness. It spreads outward, filling space with the faintest shimmer of order. Every beam travels straight, unbending, unbroken, until gravity leans close and murmurs, altering its course with a patience so subtle the light barely notices.
And yet it bends.
It bows not out of weakness, but out of recognition, as though it remembers something older than speed. We often think of gravity as a pull, a downward tug, but in truth it is not a force pressing from above or below. It is the quiet geometry of space itself, a hidden curvature drawn by mass and time. Every planet, every star, every mote of dust creates a gentle dip in this invisible fabric. Light racing through follows the contours like water tracing the curves of a riverbed. It cannot resist because there is nothing to resist. The path it takes is simply the shape the universe offers. When light meets gravity, it is not a battle, it is choreography, a dance measured in centuries, performed in silence. Einstein once described this not as attraction, but as guidance. He imagined space-time as a vast stage, pliable and alive, where matter teaches geometry how to bend, and geometry teaches matter how to move. In that picture, light becomes the perfect student, obedient, precise, and utterly without mass. It glides along the curves carved by stars, bending not because it is heavy, but because space itself has changed beneath it. This is the hidden conversation between gravity and light, one speaking through curvature, the other responding through motion. If you were floating far from any world,
and a beam of starlight passed beside you, you would not see its curve.
To your eyes it would seem straight, flawless, eternal. Only when that light brushes the edge of a planet or the rim of a black hole does its devotion become visible. We call this bending gravitational lensing, but perhaps it is closer to remembrance. Light recalling the presence of gravity long after the mass itself is gone. The faint arcs around distant galaxies, the delicate halos of distorted brightness. They are echoes of this relationship, tiny signatures of the universe's quiet dialogue. You can think of gravity as a sculptor and light as its chisel. Together they reveal form where there was only depthless dark. The galaxies we photograph, the cosmic webs we map, exist to our perception because light obeys gravity's designs. Without that obedience, the universe would remain an invisible symphony, all structure, no sight.
Light allows gravity to be seen,
and gravity allows light to find its way. So the next time you look at the night sky, the faint glimmer that reaches you after traveling for billions of years, remember how many turns that light has taken. It has skirted the edges of suns, brushed through clouds of interstellar dust, and swirled around invisible masses that left no mark except the faintest redirection.
What you see is not just brightness.
It is a record of every curve, every encounter. Each photon is an archivist carrying the map of space-time folded into its path, and yet, beneath the equations and the diagrams, there is a tenderness to this truth. Gravity does not seize light. It guides it gently, as if holding a thread through the vastness. The same force that anchors your body to Earth is the one that bends the glow of distant galaxies into rings of wonder. It connects the smallest drop of dew to the largest black hole, linking everything that has mass to everything that can be seen. In this way, light and gravity are not opposites, but companions, one revealing, the other shaping, both defining the meaning of distance. When astronomers study this dance, they are listening to an ancient rhythm. Every equation describing the curvature of space-time, every image of a lensed galaxy, is a translation of that rhythm into human language. And somewhere within the precision of those numbers lies poetry. Because what could be more intimate than the way the universe curves to meet its own reflection? Light, the messenger of reality, forever tracing the fingerprints of gravity's unseen hands. So we drift tonight between fact and feeling, between science and silence. The photons that left a star before Earth had oceans are now arriving softly at the edge of your vision. They carry news of places that no longer exist, guided across the dark by the same principle that keeps your feet on the ground. This is the quiet unity of things, the cosmic and the personal sharing one invisible rule. If you listen closely, you can almost sense it. That gentle downward pull that never ceases, that faint glow that never stops moving. Together they weave the texture of existence. Gravity shapes the journey.
Light records it.
One sculpts the silence, the other fills it with color. Their meeting defines what it means for anything to be: position, motion, memory. Without either, space would have no story, time no direction, and life no glimpse of the beyond. So breathe once more. Feel the weight that holds you steady and the faint warmth that touches your skin. They are the same story told at different scales. The embrace of gravity, the whisper of light. And somewhere in the endless distance, they continue their conversation, shaping galaxies, bending time, drawing the outlines of everything we will ever see. Thank you for being here, for lending your stillness to this moment. If you're listening from a quiet room, a sleepless bed, or a journey between places, let us know where this night finds you. Your presence becomes part of the constellation we build together, a map not of stars, but of minds at rest. If this space brings you calm, stay a while longer, breathe, and let the next story find you. Every night we return to these questions, not to solve them, but to listen. Because in the end, light falls where gravity leads. And in that fall, the universe remembers itself. The journey continues, soft and certain, into the deeper silence beyond. There is a quiet language that the universe speaks, one without sound, without words, yet understood by every particle that drifts through the dark. It is the language of space itself, the silent grammar that tells light how to move, matter where to rest, and time how to flow. When Einstein looked at the stars and the strange way they tugged on one another, he realized that gravity was not a force at all. It was the shape of this invisible language. Space was not emptiness, but a living field, bending and curving around every mass, every atom, every breath we take. In that realization, the universe shifted from being a stage to being a story, a conversation between geometry and motion, written in the quiet ink of space-time. Imagine for a moment that you are adrift in that vast ocean, an ocean without surface or shore. You do not swim through it, you are part of it. Around you, unseen waves rise and fall where stars sit like islands. their presence shaping the flow of the invisible sea. Each star pulls a little on the water, creating soft whirls and dips. If you could drop a beam of light into that current, you would see it follow the curves with perfect grace, tracing paths not because of choice, but because of the language the ocean whispers beneath it. This is how space speaks. Through curvature, through rhythm, through shape. For centuries, we thought gravity was a force that reached out, pulling things together. Newton's equations told us how strong that pull would be, and for a long time, that was enough. But Einstein looked deeper, wondering not how gravity worked, but why it worked. What if space itself was not flat, he asked. What if mass caused it to bend, to warp, to dip like a stretched fabric beneath a weight? In that single thought, the universe unfolded anew. What we feel as a pull downward is simply our path curving through a landscape we cannot see. We are not being pulled. We are gliding along the contours of Spacetime's design. Picture a planet orbiting a star, not because the star grabs it, but because the star has carved a valley in the fabric of existence, and the planet is rolling gently along its rim. There is no string, no invisible tether, only geometry. This is the soft revelation at the heart of relativity, that movement, time, and gravity are not separate things but notes in a single symphony. Light plays its melody too, bending not from weakness but from fidelity, always following the rules written into the space it travels through. Everywhere, this geometry is alive. Space stretches between galaxies, expanding like breath. It folds near dense stars, tightening its weave. Where mass gathers, time slows, as if the universe itself needs to pause to bear the weight.
And through all of it, light listens.
Its straight line is only an illusion. In truth, every photon is tracing the universe's handwriting, following the curve of the sentence that spacetime has written. We do not see space itself, but we see the way light obeys it. The soft bending around a sun, the elegant arc near a black hole, the shifting echo of a faraway quasar. In every beam, the language is revealed. There is something deeply human in this discovery, the idea that structure itself carries meaning. We spend our lives surrounded by invisible patterns, the pull of memory, the gravity of emotion, the way thought bends time inside us. The universe is not so different. It too holds its feelings in shape in the way light curves and time lingers. And perhaps that is why Einstein's vision feels less like a formula and more like poetry. He gave the cosmos a voice, not a booming command, but a whisper of form. The way silence carries a contour you can almost feel. If you close your eyes now and imagine yourself floating in the curve of space, you might sense it, the faint impression of direction even in stillness, the gentle tilt that keeps you bound to the earth, the subtle ripple where planets spin and stars breathe. Everything moves because space tells it how.
Everything bends because space invites it to.
We exist not in emptiness but in an ever-changing field of gentle instruction. The universe, for all its enormity, is fluent in softness. Einstein once wrote that space and time are woven together so tightly that they cannot be separated. To distort one is to alter the other. So when gravity curves space, it also stretches time. A clock near a massive star ticks more slowly than one in the open void, as though time itself is listening carefully, choosing its steps with patience. Even light feels this. Its frequency shifts, its color changes, its journey lengthens or contracts depending on the shape it must traverse. The cosmos is not fixed. It breathes through geometry, exhaling energy, inhaling light. This is the language the universe speaks to itself, endlessly, everywhere. Galaxies respond with slow rotations, black holes with silence, stars with the hum of fusion. The dialogue never ends, and we, small as we are part of it. Our bodies molded by gravity, our perception carried by light. Every second of our existence is a translation of spacetime's grammar. When you drop an object and it falls, when light filters softly through the atmosphere, when your heartbeat feels the weight of the world, you are hearing that language in motion, and yet, the deeper you listen, the quieter it becomes. Beyond words, beyond even understanding, there is only shape. Elegant, inevitable, serene. The path of a falling apple, the orbit of a planet, the swirl of a galaxy, all are phrases of the same sentence. We live inside a story written not in letters, but in curves. So the next time you look at the sky, remember what you see is not random. The stars do not simply exist, they correspond. They rest where space-time allows, like notes placed gently upon a staff. Every glimmer is a response to gravity's silent music, every shadow an echo of curvature. The universe does not shout. It sings softly through structure, and in that realization comes a strange kind of peace. Because if space can bend and time can flow, then nothing, not even light, is truly lost. Every motion is a continuation of the same grand sentence, the same infinite verse. You, sitting there in the dark, are part of it too. The ground beneath you curves gently around the planet, and even the photons touching your skin are following the same law that guides the galaxies. In the end, all of it, the stars, the dust, the breath between moments, is fluent in one truth. Gravity is the shape of meaning,
And light is the way it is revealed.
the cosmos speaks always in the language of space. You need only to listen quietly to understand. Light has no mass. It carries no weight, no substance that we can hold or measure in grams or kilograms. It is a ripple in the electromagnetic field, a pure expression of energy moving at the one universal limit that cannot be surpassed. Yet somehow, even this massless traveler, this weightless whisper of creation, bends when it passes a star. It curves around galaxies, folds through the edges of black holes, and finds its path altered by something it cannot touch. How can that be? How can something without weight, without any mass to speak of, be guided by the invisible pull of gravity, a force we often imagine as something that acts only on things with heft and substance? To understand that, we must first remember what Einstein showed us. Gravity is not really a force at all. It is a bending of the stage upon which everything moves. Imagine the universe not as an empty void, but as a great woven fabric. Soft, continuous, and pliant. Each object, from the smallest atom to the largest star, rests on that fabric and slightly deforms it. The heavier it is, the deeper its indentation. Planets roll around stars not because they are being pulled, but because they are following the curves that the stars create in that fabric. Now picture light as a restless traveler gliding along this cosmic cloth. It always moves straight, but straight lines can curve when the space they move through is curved. Just as a marble rolls around the rim of a bowl, light too must follow the curvature of space-time, its perfect straightness bending with the landscape beneath it. And so, even though it has no mass, it still listens to gravity's silent instructions. Not because gravity is reaching out to pull it, but because the path it moves along is no longer flat. The weightless, then, is not immune to gravity. It is guided by the shape of the universe itself. This idea is both strange and beautiful, that the cosmos doesn't pull things the way a magnet does, but instead shapes the roads they must follow. Gravity does not act on light, it acts around it, and light, being ever obedient to the geometry of reality, follows the most efficient route possible through that terrain. We call that route a geodesic, the cosmic equivalent of a straight line on a curved surface. To see this more clearly, imagine shining a beam of light past a massive star. From a great distance, the beam seems to bend inward, curving slightly before continuing its journey into space. To an observer, it looks as if the star is tugging at the light. But the truth is quieter, more elegant. The light is simply following the space that the star has shaped around itself. The path is straight from the light's point of view, even though it appears curved from ours. And so the photon, the smallest parcel of light, travels without mass, but never without direction.
It has no rest, no pause, no stillness.
It exists only in motion, always at the speed of light, always tracing the universe's silent architecture. Its entire being is defined by the geometry through which it moves. There's a quiet lesson in that. To be weightless is not to be free of influence. Even the light, unburdened by mass, must yield to the contours of reality. The photon's journey reminds us that freedom and surrender can coexist, that to move gracefully through the universe is to follow the shape of what is, not to fight it. If we could stand on the edge of a black hole and watch a beam of light slip by, we would see its path curve until it nearly circles the abyss. In the most extreme cases, the light cannot escape at all. Not because the black hole pulls it back, but because the space around it is so deeply curved that every path the light could take simply leads inward. It is not captured by force. It is captured by shape. And so the weightless learns to fall. The photon, which should have no gravity to fear, finds itself trapped in the deepest valley of space-time. It becomes part of the black hole's event horizon, woven into the shadow that defines it. In that moment, energy meets geometry, and the line between something and nothing begins to blur. Perhaps that is what gravity teaches light, that even the purest freedom still belongs to the structure of existence. The photon moves forward endlessly, yet it cannot choose its way. It glides through a silent architecture it did not build, tracing a map written by mass and motion and time, and maybe that is what we are too. Beings of movement and awareness, drawn along invisible curves we can sense but never escape. Our choices, our journeys may also follow a geometry deeper than we know, shaped by forces beyond our mass, beyond our understanding, beyond our will. The weightless path of light is not a defiance of gravity, but its most delicate obedience.
And in that obedience lies a quiet truth. Sometimes,
to move freely is simply to follow the shape of the universe. So the next time you see sunlight bend through the air, or glimpse a star that seems to shimmer behind a planet's edge, remember, what you are seeing is not illusion but conversation. The dialogue between the weightless and the immense, between motion and stillness, between what is seen and what silently shapes it. Light, it seems, is not immune to gravity. It is its most eloquent listener. When light moves near a star, it does not pass untouched. It bends just slightly, a soft arc written across the sky. It is a gesture so subtle that for centuries no one noticed. To our eyes, the stars seemed fixed, their light straight and unwavering. But when Einstein spoke of curved space-time, he whispered a new way to see, that the light from distant stars was quietly bending around nearer ones, their paths gently guided by the invisible hand of gravity. Imagine it, a universe where light is a brushstroke and gravity the unseen painter. Every ray becomes a curve of brightness, tracing the contours of space-time like ink on an unseen page. Around stars, the arcs are delicate, like strands of silk gliding through air. Around galaxies, the bends are vast, like ripples carved into water. Around black holes, the light does not merely curve, it spirals, wraps, and vanishes into shadow. The universe itself becomes a great fluid painting, its colors shaped by the geometry of what lies beneath. Astronomers call this gravitational lensing, though the phrase feels too mechanical for something so profound. It is as if the universe wears lenses made of space itself, bending the paths of light that travel through it. When a massive object sits between us and a distant star, it can bend the light of that star around it, creating mirrored images, halos, or even rings. Perfect circles of light known as Einstein rings.
These are not illusions.
They are direct visual confessions of the cosmos, proof that space truly curves, and that light, ever faithful, follows those curves without hesitation. Picture the scene. A massive galaxy cluster, silent and immense, sitting in the depths of the universe. Behind it, countless galaxies shine, their light traveling for billions of years. As that light passes through the cluster's gravitational field, it bends. Not just once, but countless times, weaving through the warped geometry like rivers following hidden valleys. By the time that light reaches us, it carries the imprint of every bend, every subtle distortion. Through it, we can map the invisible, the dark matter that shapes those curves, unseen yet undeniably present. What we witness is gravity revealing itself not through force, but through beauty. Around black holes, this beauty turns haunting. The light no longer simply bends. It begins to orbit, caught in an endless dance at the edge of the event horizon. There, time itself slows, and the geometry becomes so steep that light can circle the hole multiple times before escaping, if it escapes at all. To an outside observer, the light forms a glowing ring, a luminous outline against absolute darkness. We call it the photon sphere, a boundary where light and gravity become indistinguishable, where the universe sketches a perfect circle from the struggle between motion and fall. It is in these curved horizons that the universe seems to reveal its handwriting. Every deflection, every arc is a record of mass and distance, of energy and shape. When we look at the sky through telescopes and see light stretched, magnified, or multiplied, we are not just observing it, we are reading the geometry of reality itself. And yet, beyond all the equations and observations, there is something deeply human in this phenomenon. Light, like us, travels far, carrying stories from places it will never return to. And just like us, its path is not always straight. It bends when it meets the weight of something vast. Not because it chooses to, but because that is how the universe speaks. Perhaps this is the quiet lesson hidden in every gravitational arc. That curvature is not distortion, but harmony. The light does not resist the star's pull. It moves with it, finding grace in the geometry. Around every massive body there is not chaos, but choreography, a celestial dance written into the fabric of being. If you could drift close enough to a black hole and watch the starlight bend around it, you would see the horizon glow. The dark would be outlined with light, a ring that marks not destruction, but revelation. For in that curve, the universe tells us that even darkness cannot hide the structure of truth. Light, obedient and fearless, traces the shape of what we cannot see, revealing the contours of the invisible. And this is where gravity and light meet most profoundly, not in opposition, but in conversation. Gravity shapes space.
Light explores it.
One creates the path, the other makes it visible. Together they weave a story that spans every horizon, from the surface of stars to the edges of time. So when we speak of curved horizons, we are not just describing astrophysics. We are describing the architecture of awe. We are witnessing the universe thinking aloud, sketching its structure with threads of light. Every curve, every faint bend of a starlit path is a whisper from the cosmos. Matter and light are never strangers. They are the two hands of creation, one sculpting, the other illuminating. And so as you close your eyes tonight, imagine the light still traveling, bending gently around distant suns, gliding through invisible valleys, tracing arcs through the silent dark. Imagine those curves continuing forever, unseen yet perfect. The universe is still painting, and gravity, ever patient, still guides the brush. There are ideas that do not fade with time. They resonate like distant music that never quite stops. Einstein's vision of the universe was one such sound. When he spoke of gravity, he did not speak of a force, but of a pattern, a melody written into the structure of reality. He called it spacetime, a single, fluid fabric where matter, energy, and light all perform their parts. And in that harmony, gravity is no longer a downward pull, but the gentle curve of the song itself. It is difficult to imagine such music, for it is not made of sound, but of motion. Every planet, every star, every drifting photon moves to the rhythm of spacetime's geometry. The presence of mass is like a note pressed into the fabric. The heavier the note, the deeper the curve, the slower the time. Space bends, time stretches. What we once thought of as attraction is in truth a following of form, the way rivers follow valleys, or wind follows the hollow of the land. Einstein gave us the map, but more importantly, he gave us the metaphor. Space and time were no longer separate, silent dimensions. They were the stage and the music upon which everything moves. The Earth does not fall toward the sun. It glides along a curved path that spacetime itself creates. Light does not turn because it wishes to. It turns because the path beneath it bends, and to move straight in such a world means to follow that curve completely. When you imagine the universe in this way, it becomes less mechanical and more alive. A slow, breathing organism that shifts and hums. The motion of galaxies, the orbit of moons, the gentle drift of light, all of it is choreography. Each mass contributes its tone. Each ray of light responds. The deeper the mass, the lower the pitch, the slower the rhythm. The lighter the energy, the quicker the note. Together they compose the great, unfolding score of the cosmos. Sometimes this music becomes visible. In 1919, during a total solar eclipse, astronomers saw starlight bend around the sun, just as Einstein had predicted. For the first time, his equations sang in the language of light. It was not merely a discovery. It was a confirmation that the universe listens to its own geometry.
Light had become the messenger of the invisible, tracing the curves that no eye could otherwise see. And though the world celebrated, Einstein himself smiled quietly.
He once said, "The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible." To him, beauty lay not only in mystery, but in its translation, in the echo of truth that reason could hear. His theory was not about numbers alone. It was about rhythm, about how everything moves together as though the cosmos itself were remembering a single, unending song. When we think of echoes, we think of something fading, bouncing off walls, returning weaker each time. But Einstein's echo is the opposite. It grows as it travels. His insight ripples outward, touching every new discovery, black holes, gravitational waves, cosmic expansion. Each revelation adds another note, another harmony, another proof that the song he described still plays on. In 2015, a century after his prediction, we finally heard the sound of space-time, faint ripples from the collision of black holes, recorded by detectors so sensitive they could feel distortion smaller than a proton. These waves were the literal echo of Einstein's vision, vibrations in the very structure of space and time. The universe had spoken, and it spoke his language. Yet beneath the science lies a deeper quiet. Einstein's cosmos is not loud or violent. Its power is not in explosion, but in inevitability, the soft, perfect consistency of motion. It is the universe at peace with its own laws, every movement a gentle bow to the geometry it inhabits. And when we look up, we are not separate from that motion. We too exist in its rhythm. Every step, every heartbeat, every breath is timed by space-time's slow unfolding. You can almost feel it if you listen closely enough. The tick of a clock, the orbit of a moon, the fall of light through air, all are variations of the same pulse. We live inside the echo carried along by its measure. When you look at the stars, their light has already danced to gravity's tune, arriving to you curved and aged by the journey. The night sky itself is a symphony already half complete, every photon a note that has traveled through spacetime's shifting chords. And perhaps this is why Einstein's vision endures, because it did not only describe the universe,
It gave it character.
it turned physics into poetry. It said that gravity is not what pulls us down, but what holds us together, that light does not merely travel, but listens.
That space does not simply exist, and it participates.
Everything that moves within something alive, something flexible and responsive, something that remembers where it has been. If you could stand at the edge of a black hole, you would feel this music in its purest form. There, the rhythm stretches infinitely. Time slows almost to stillness. The closer you drift, the deeper the note becomes until all of space around you vibrates with a tone beyond hearing. Light spirals, bends, and fades into darkness. But the echo remains, carried through gravitational waves that ripple outward forever.
Even in silence, the song continues. So tonight, as the stars hang motionless above, remember that they are not still.
They are part of the same melody that Einstein once glimpsed in thought. The slow hum of curvature, the patient rhythm of space-time breathing. What you see is not the end of light, but its movement through a woven field, its obedience to a deeper pattern. Perhaps in the quiet between seconds, you can hear it too, the faint music of existence.
Rising and falling, shaping every path you take.
Einstein did not invent that sound. He only taught us how to listen. And so the echo of Einstein endures, not as a memory, but as a living vibration in every corner of creation. It hums in the orbit of the Earth, in the bending of starlight, in the silence between atoms. It hums in you too, for you are made of motion, carried within the same timeless song. The secret link still hums. The universe is still listening, and the music never ends. Some truths in the universe do not stand before you. They bend around what you see. They hide not out of malice, but because their presence is revealed only through distortion. When light passes near immense gravity, it does not continue in a straight line. It bends, curves, and stretches, tracing invisible structures that no eye could otherwise perceive. This bending, this quiet redirection, is known as gravitational lensing. A mirage not of heat or air, but of space-time itself. Through it, the universe whispers the outlines of things that should not be visible. Galaxies duplicated like reflections in broken glass, stars stretched into thin luminous arcs, entire constellations warped into gentle halos of light. These are not accidents. They are the footprints of the invisible. What we witness is gravity's art, mass sculpting vision, matter painting illusions. Each curve of light tells us where something heavy lies hidden, bending the path, shaping the image, changing the story we think we see. Imagine a beam of starlight traveling for billions of years, silent, unbroken, sure of its course. Then, somewhere along that endless path, it encounters gravity's invisible hand, perhaps a cluster of galaxies, perhaps a cloud of dark matter. The light bends, wraps, and continues, arriving at our eyes changed, displaced, multiplied. What we see is not the star as it is, but as gravity allows us to see it, a reflection shaped by the unseen. Astronomers call it lensing, but it is more than that.
It is a confession from the cosmos, a gentle reveal of what lies beneath.
Through these distortions, we discovered the fingerprints of something that neither emits nor reflects light. Dark matter. It cannot be touched, seen, or captured, and yet it outweighs all visible matter many times over. Galaxies spin faster than their light alone should allow, Clusters of stars remain bound when gravity from visible matter should let them go. The only explanation left is the unseen, a vast framework holding the luminous world in place. Through lensing, we watch dark matter work in silence. It bends light without being lit, moves galaxies without being seen, shapes the very scaffolding of the universe. Its gravity is its only voice and light its only translator. Every warped image, every ring of brightness surrounding an invisible center is dark matter speaking in curves. The famous Einstein ring, a perfect circle of light surrounding a dark void, is its signature, an echo of the invisible bending what cannot resist. In deep space images, these arcs and rings become cosmic fingerprints, proof that the universe has more in it than the visible stars. To the eye, they are hauntingly beautiful, blue filaments of galaxies stretched across the black, scattered halos glowing softly against the void. To the mind, they are evidence, the geometry of the unseen revealed through the obedience of light. And so we begin to understand that sight itself is unreliable. The cosmos deceives gently, not through trickery, but through truth too vast to be seen directly. Light, once thought to reveal everything, is itself a servant of gravity. What it shows us depends on the paths it takes, the wells it falls through, the hands it passes. The universe we see is already translated, already distorted, already curved by the unseen sculptor behind it all. Dark matter does not shine, but it gives shape to everything that does. Without it, galaxies would fall apart, stars would drift loose, and light would move through a structureless void. It is the quiet architect, invisible, indifferent, essential. And through gravitational lensing, we watch it at work, painting shadows that are brighter than any light. There is a strange comfort in that. The knowledge that what we cannot see might be the very thing that holds us together. That absence can have presence, that the invisible can be the framework of the visible. When you look at a lensed galaxy, its image split, its light stretched into rings and arcs, you are looking at a conversation between light and darkness. You are seeing the trace of something that does not wish to be known, but cannot help revealing its shape through gravity's whisper. In that way, dark matter is not entirely secret. It speaks through silence, announces itself through curves, expresses through distortion. The universe is full of such paradoxes, light that travels straight but appears bent, matter that cannot be seen but defines what is seen, energy that moves everything yet reveals nothing. To see is not always to understand. Sometimes, to see truly, one must learn to read the shadows. And if you think of it long enough, you realize that this pattern repeats in our own lives. We too are shaped by what we cannot see: gravity, time, emotion, memory. Invisible forces curve the paths we walk, bend our choices, alter our perspectives. Like light, we are guided by what we do not fully comprehend. And yet, because of that, the world takes form. The invisible gives meaning to the visible. The unseen gives purpose to the seen. The first time astronomers mapped dark matter through lensing, they were not looking for beauty, yet they found it. The map glowed in ghostly blue, showing invisible mass woven between galaxies like cosmic webbing. It was a portrait of the unseen universe, the structure upon which all else rests. In those filaments lay the story of formation itself, how galaxies gathered, how clusters formed, how the universe found its shape. Without dark matter, there would be no galaxies at all, no suns, no planets, no light to bend. Perhaps that is the greatest irony of all. The brightest stars owe their place to darkness. Every spark you see in the night sky is held in position by what you cannot see. The luminous depends upon the obscure. The visible exists because the invisible allows it to. Gravity is the thread, dark matter the loom, and light the thread woven through it, together creating the vast curved tapestry of being. So the next time you look at the night sky, imagine the light you see has been bent, delayed, altered. Somewhere along its path, it passed through the touch of the unseen, a gravity well, a cluster of galaxies, a shadow of the invisible. The star you see may not be where it seems, and yet its image arrives perfectly, precisely, beautifully shaped by the forces that bind the universe together. Light moves, gravity guides, and the unseen sculpts. This is the language of cosmic illusion, the way the universe hides by revealing, the way it speaks without words, and as we continue to listen, to trace the rings and arcs that mark dark matter's gentle hand, we begin to understand that the most profound truths are often those that light alone cannot tell. The invisible does not ask to be seen, it asks only to be felt. In the quiet bending of photons, in the mirrored shapes of galaxies, in the curved shadows of the cosmos. What we see is never the whole picture, but through those distortions, through those faint,
luminous echoes, the universe lets us glimpse its deeper design, and perhaps,
as we drift beneath the night sky, we can feel that design, faintly, a subtle gravity pulling not just on light, but on wonder itself. The invisible sculptor is still at work, shaping both the cosmos and the quiet that lives within us. There are moments in history when the universe seems to lean closer, allowing us to glimpse its true face. One such moment came in 1919 when the world held its breath beneath the shadow of the moon. The air was still, the sky dimmed, and for a few brief minutes, the sun, at the blinding center of our day's orbit, was veiled. Around its darkened edge, faint stars emerged, their light passing close to the sun before reaching Earth. It was in those trembling, almost invisible specks of light that a revolution unfolded, a quiet proof that space itself could bend, and that light would bow to it. The expedition had begun with an idea, a whisper from Einstein's equations. He had proposed that gravity was not a force pulling things downward, but a curve in space-time caused by mass. If that were true, then light, though weightless, would not move straight past the sun. It would bend, following the curve in the very fabric of existence. To most, this seemed absurd. Light was the purest thing imaginable, a straight messenger from the stars, incorruptible and constant. And yet Einstein claimed even it would yield to gravity's quiet persuasion. To test this, scientists traveled far from home. One team to Sobral, Brazil, another to the island of Principe, off the western coast of Africa, each carrying telescopes, cameras, and the patient hope that the weather would show mercy. Their plan was simple: photograph the stars near the sun during a total eclipse when its light was hidden, and compare those positions to the stars' normal ones in the night sky. If the stars appeared displaced, shifted outward just slightly, it would mean that their light had bent, their paths curved by the sun's gravity. When the day came, the world below fell silent. The sky darkened into deep twilight. Birds stopped singing. Shadows softened. The sun became a ring of fire surrounded by a faint, ghostly corona. And in that brief darkness the cameras clicked, capturing light that had traveled for millions of years, only to bend at the last moment around the edge of our star. Those plates, developed weeks later, showed what no one had seen before: starlight that had fallen twice, once through the depths of space and once through the curve of gravity itself. It was an event both scientific and spiritual. For centuries, Newton's laws had described gravity as a force between masses, a pull that required substance. But now Einstein's idea suggested something subtler, something almost musical, that mass and energy simply tell space how to curve, and that curved space tells everything, even light, how to move. What we called falling was really just following the shape of space-time. The sun was not pulling on the star's light. It was shaping the road the light traveled upon. When the results were announced later that year, the world trembled with wonder. Headlines declared, "Einstein theory triumphs." Crowds gathered outside observatories. Newspapers called him the new Newton. But behind the excitement was something quieter, more profound. Humanity had glimpsed the structure beneath all things, a universe not built of rigid rules, but of flexible, living geometry. Reality itself could bend and breathe. Space was no longer the stage upon which events occurred. It was part of the play, part of the motion, part of the music, and through that realization, something shifted in how we saw ourselves. If even light could be curved, then nothing was truly separate or unmoved. Every beam that falls through air, every shimmer that reaches your eyes, carries within it the memory of the space it has crossed. Light is shaped not only by what it illuminates, but by what it passes. In a way, all vision is lensing. All seeing is distortion, all clarity the result of bending. The eclipse showed us that our perception of the universe is always guided by forces we cannot see, and that even truth itself must travel through curvature. Einstein's prediction, confirmed in that quiet moment beneath the moon's shadow, changed more than physics. It changed the poetry of existence. The image of light bowing to gravity was humbling, a symbol of submission, not defeat. It said that even the swiftest, purest thing known to nature still listens to the shape of the world it moves through. It reminded us that speed is not freedom, and that even light in its flight remains connected to the whole. The cosmos, it seemed, was not a battlefield of forces, but a woven fabric of relationships, everything bending toward everything else, everything participating in the dance. For those who witnessed it, that eclipse never truly ended. Its light still lingers, echoing through time. Every telescope, every gravitational lens, every deep space photograph owes its ancestry to that single alignment of sun, moon, and stars. It was the first time we saw space-time not as a theory, but as a living truth revealed in silver on photographic glass. The bending of light became more than a measurement. It became a metaphor for the tenderness of the universe, the way even radiance must listen to silence, the way motion itself can be gentle, and perhaps that is why the event remains so quietly moving even now. Because what it proved was not only that gravity and light are linked, but that beauty and truth often meet in stillness. In that moment, the sun's power was hidden, the stars shone faintly, and between them something unseen revealed itself. The universe allowed its fabric to be traced, not by force, but by patience, by observation, by listening. So the next time you look at sunlight spilling across a wall, or a star flickering above the horizon, remember that it has already bowed once, long ago, to gravity's soft command. It carries the curve of the cosmos within it, a memory of the moment when space itself became visible through its bending. The light that fell twice still moves across time, whispering the same quiet revelation, that even the straightest path is never truly straight, that even the brightest journey is guided by the unseen, and that in the vast music of gravity and light, everything, even illumination itself, must one day learn to yield. Time is not steady. It flows, bends, and stretches, not unlike light itself. To us, it feels constant because we live within it, carried by its current. But the deeper we move into gravity's domain, the slower that current runs. Around massive stars, near black holes, or even here on Earth, time hesitates ever so slightly, pausing to bow before gravity's invisible weight. And because light is bound to time, it too must change. Its rhythm stretched, its frequency softened, its color deepened into red. Einstein once described this as the most natural consequence of his theory, that gravity, by shaping space, must also shape time. The two are not separate threads, but one woven fabric. Pull on one and the other trembles. A clock near a massive object ticks slower than a clock farther away, not because the mechanism fails, but because time itself has changed. It is as though gravity holds time in its hand, gently pressing on it, slowing its heartbeat. And since light moves through time, it cannot escape this slowing. When light climbs out of a gravitational well, like a photon leaving the surface of a star, it loses energy, stretching into longer, redder wavelengths. This quiet stretching is called gravitational redshift. Imagine standing on the surface of a star, watching its light drift upward into the darkness. To you, the light seems bright and white, but to someone far away, observing from the emptiness of space, that same light appears softer, its frequency reduced, its color leaning toward crimson. It is not that the light has dimmed, but that it has aged on its journey. It has spent energy not in slowing down, for light's speed never falters, but in escaping the pull of time itself. It is a cosmic fatigue, a stretching of its very being, as though the photon carries with it the memory of the climb. This redshift is the universe's quiet signature, written not in ink, but in wavelength. It tells us where gravity lies hidden and how deep its wells are. When astronomers observe the light from white dwarfs or neutron stars, they see these shifts clearly. The light bears the scars of its escape, stretched like a song played through denser air. From those subtle changes in color, we can measure gravity's strength, even when no motion betrays it. Every shift is a whisper from time itself, reminding us that it too is part of the gravitational dance. In a way, this effect blurs the line between time and light entirely, because if time slows, light must change. And if light changes, time can be read from its color. Astronomers often speak of redshift in terms of movement, galaxies racing away, the universe expanding, distances growing vast. But gravitational redshift is not about motion. It is about memory. It is the imprint of place, the echo of how deep time has been curved, where the light began. It tells us where that light was born, in what valley of space-time, under what invisible pressure of existence. Near a black hole, this effect becomes almost unbearable. As light tries to escape from the edge of the event horizon, it is stretched endlessly. To an outside observer, it fades into nothing, its wavelength lengthening beyond perception. The photon never truly leaves. It only slows, its energy bleeding into time itself until the universe can no longer hear it. This is what physicists call the gravitational redshift to infinity, the point where time and light both freeze, caught in gravity's unbreakable grasp. It is a haunting reminder that at the very edges of understanding, time does not just slow.
It dissolves, and yet even here on Earth, where gravity is gentle, the effect still exists.
Your feet, being closer to the planet's mass, experience time ever so slightly slower than your head. It is an unimaginably small difference, billionths of a second, but real nonetheless. Time tilts everywhere, bending quietly under weight. Even now, as you listen, your seconds pass differently from those in orbit above or those deep within the crust below. We inhabit a world of tilted time, unaware of the slow sway beneath our perception. Perhaps this is what makes redshift so poetic. It is not merely a calculation or a color change, it is the cosmos breathing through light. Every photon is a traveler through uneven time, carrying with it the imprint of every gravity well, every curve of space it has crossed. To see redshift is to read the autobiography of a beam of light, a record of where it has been, how long it has lingered, and what forces have touched it. In its stretched waves, we can trace the shape of space-time itself. Consider for a moment the light from a distant galaxy billions of years away.
It left before our sun was born, before Earth had oceans.
That light has crossed the expanding fabric of the cosmos, climbing against the pull of countless gravitational fields. By the time it reaches us, it is red-shifted beyond recognition, a deep hum of energy, tired but unbroken. It is a message that has aged across the ages, still carrying the memory of its origin. To study it is to look backward, not only in space, but in time, to witness the universe as it once was, preserved in color, in the great balance of existence. Light's fatigue and time's slowing are not losses, but harmonies. Gravity does not steal from light. It transforms it. It teaches it patience. It asks it to slow, to stretch, to remember. Every redshift, every softened frequency is a gesture of respect between energy and the geometry that holds it. Through this gentle exchange, the cosmos tells its story, not in sudden bursts or violent collisions, but in the slow tilt of time, in the patient stretching of light's endless journey. And so, when we gaze into the deep red glow of a dying star, or trace the dim contours of a galaxy retreating into the dark, we are not just seeing color. We are seeing time bent and tired, light aged and softened by its passage through the universe's weight. What we call redshift is not the exhaustion of light, but its wisdom, the visible memory of gravity's touch, in that subtle tilt, where time and light meet and alter one another. The universe reveals one of its most tender truths, that even motionless light carries the rhythm of time, and even time itself carries the weight of light's journey. Gravity, it seems, is not only a sculptor of space, it is the slow, patient teacher of eternity. There is a place where light can no longer choose, where every path curves inward and every possibility folds back upon itself. It is the edge of a black hole, a horizon not of matter, but of meaning. Here, the laws that govern the cosmos reach their quietest conclusion. The speed of light remains unchanged, yet even that speed is not enough. Gravity bends the very space through which light moves, turning direction into destiny. At this edge, light hovers, caught between falling and fleeing, a moment of eternal hesitation, a trembling pause between existence and disappearance. To the outside universe, this boundary appears like a shadow wrapped in silence, the event horizon beyond a place where nothing returns, not even information. And yet it is not a wall. It is a mirror made of darkness, reflecting not images but truths. Every photon that approaches it is slowed by gravity's pull, redshifted until its wavelength stretches beyond all sight. From far away we watch that light fade, its frequency softening, its brightness dissolving into black. It never truly vanishes. It merely takes longer and longer to leave, so long that to us it seems to stop altogether. Einstein's equations predicted such a place, though he doubted they could ever exist. They describe gravity so strong that the fabric of space folds into itself, creating a bottomless well where time slows to stillness. For light, this is the ultimate test. The photon, weightless and unbound, now finds itself unable to escape. It does not crash or burn. It simply remains orbiting the invisible. Around certain black holes, light forms a perfect ring, a circle of trapped brightness, endlessly chasing its own reflection. Astronomers call it the photon sphere. It is the nearest thing the universe has to eternity, a dance of energy caught forever at the edge of nothingness. When we peer into that darkness, what we truly see is not the black hole itself, but the light that nearly escaped it. This is what forms the glowing halo captured by telescopes like the Event Horizon Telescope, a faint golden ring outlining the unseeable. That light has been twisted, delayed, and folded around the black hole many times before reaching us. Each photon tells the story of a near fall, of a narrow escape. The shape of the ring, its thickness, its trembling arcs, all are expressions of space-time's curvature. The black hole is invisible, yet it paints itself with the behavior of the light it captures. In a strange way, this is gravity's most honest art form. It bends the path of light until visibility itself becomes part of the illusion. The darkness we see is not absence but containment, a perfect prison where light becomes geometry and geometry becomes silence. And yet, even within that silence, the dialogue between gravity and light continues. The photon, though trapped, still oscillates, still carries the imprint of energy. Its conversation with the fabric of space has not ended. It has only deepened beyond our perception. At the event horizon, time behaves differently from anywhere else in the universe. To the falling observer, it flows as smoothly as ever. They cross the boundary without noticing. But to an external watcher, time stretches endlessly. The falling light seems to slow, to freeze, to shimmer at the edge. This paradox, where two truths coexist, is the essence of relativity made manifest. Gravity does not break time, it bends its perception. Each observer, like each photon, experiences a different rhythm of reality. This bending of time and light creates the black hole's haunting beauty. Its stillness is an illusion of perspective. Deep inside, space curves inward, collapsing not into a point, but into a question. What lies beyond the horizon? We cannot know. The equations predict singularities, infinities, where matter and energy are crushed beyond form. But perhaps what truly vanishes is our language, our capacity to describe. Beyond the event horizon, physics itself grows silent, folded into the black mirror that reflects our limits. And yet this silence is not empty. Hawking's discovery revealed that black holes may not be entirely dark. Through quantum fluctuations at the event horizon, faint radiation escapes, what we now call Hawking radiation. Even the black mirror whispers, releasing its energy one trembling particle at a time. Over immense ages, this process can unmake the black hole itself, returning its stolen energy to the universe. The same gravity that captures light may, in the end, let it go. Nothing in the cosmos is truly permanent, or not even darkness. To imagine this is to glimpse a profound symmetry. Light, which defines visibility, and gravity, which defines structure, are bound in an endless conversation. One reveals, the other conceals.
One moves, the other shapes.
At the edge of a black hole, they meet in perfect balance. The weightless and the infinite, the visible and the void. It is not destruction we witness, but completion, the cycle of energy returning to silence, of light learning to stop. And perhaps in that stillness there is something deeply familiar. The black hole is not a villain of the universe, but its most contemplative phenomenon, a place where the cosmos pauses to remember itself. The light that hovers there is not lost. It is meditating, folded into the rhythm of space and time. Every photon that vanishes into that horizon carries with it the story of its journey. The distant stars it left behind, the galaxies it crossed, the gravitational wells it climbed. Its silence is filled with history. So when we gaze upon the black hole's ring of light, that perfect trembling edge between being and unbeing, we are seeing not the end of illumination, but its reflection. The black mirror does not devour meaning. It distills it. It shows us what happens when motion meets inevitability, when speed meets curvature, when light meets its own shadow, and in that reflection, we might sense something beyond physics. The quiet assurance that even the brightest things must someday rest, and that even in total darkness, the universe keeps its most intimate conversations alive. For the bond between gravity and light does not end where vision fails. It deepens there, folded forever into the silent architecture of space-time, where every fall becomes a form of grace, and every shadow remembers the light it once held. There is a stillness beneath all movement, a silent structure holding the rhythm of the universe together. It is not made of matter nor of light, but of something subtler, the very shape of existence. Einstein called it spacetime, a vast, continuous fabric, stretching and curving wherever mass and energy reside. Every planet, every star, every drifting grain of dust leaves its gentle impression on this invisible surface. What we feel as gravity, what we describe as attraction, is not a pull at all, but a quiet bending, a curve that tells matter and light where to go. If you could float beyond all stars, into the deep silence between galaxies, you would see no strings, no forces, no arrows of influence. You would see a tranquil field of geometry, a map without lines, only contours of potential. Each massive body sinks softly into that field, like a stone resting in calm water. Around it, space-time dips and folds, creating a natural path. The Earth does not orbit the Sun because it is pulled, but because the Sun's presence reshapes the space through which Earth moves. Like a marble rolling within a curved bowl, our world simply follows the geometry that exists. Light, too, obeys this geometry perfectly. A photon has no mass, yet it moves as though it understands the landscape beneath it. When light passes near a star, its path bends. Not because the star reaches out to grab it, but because the space around that star is curved. To the photon, the path feels straight. To us, it appears deflected, a graceful arc through the dark. This is the quiet truth Einstein revealed. Gravity is not a force, but a pattern. Not a command, but a conversation between energy and the shape of space. Imagine space-time as a great cosmic fabric stretched across infinity. Heavy objects, stars, planets, galaxies, press gently into it, creating dimples that guide the motion of everything nearby. Even light, though weightless, glides along those gentle dips, tracing their contours like a dancer following invisible steps. The more massive the object, the deeper the curve it makes. Yet this curve is not an indentation in something separate. It is reality itself bending. The geometry of the universe is not drawn on space. It is space. In this understanding, gravity loses its aggression. It is no longer the tug of one object upon another, but the harmony of all things following their rightful lines. Every motion becomes choreography, smooth, inevitable, serene, and through it all, light serves as both messenger and participant. It travels across these curves, showing us their shape without ever stopping to rest. Through its bending, we glimpse the architecture of space-time itself. Telescopes capture this harmony in delicate detail. When light from distant galaxies passes by intervening clusters, it bends and twists, creating rings, arcs, and mirages. Gravitational lensing, the universe's natural art. These distortions are not errors, but revelations. They expose the hidden geometry sculpted by invisible matter. Dark matter, though unseen, still curves space-time, and through light's obedience, we trace its presence. Every warped galaxy image is a signature of gravity's silent hand. The beauty of this realization lies in its simplicity. The universe does not need invisible chords or instantaneous pulls across emptiness. It moves through shapes, not shoves. Every atom, every photon, follows the simplest possible path. What physicists call a geodesic. In the absence of forces, things do not move in straight lines. They move in the straightest lines available within curved space. What we perceive as falling, orbiting, or accelerating is merely the geometry expressing itself. Gravity, in this way, is not external. It is the memory of how light and matter have always moved. If you could watch space-time ripple, it would not look violent. Even when immense masses collide like black holes merging, the waves that spread outward are soft, expanding and contracting space itself in a rhythm slower than breath. These gravitational waves are the language of geometry in motion, the way the cosmos whispers across unimaginable distances. And yet, even they carry calm, stretching and relaxing, a universal heartbeat echoing through nothingness. In this geometry, everything is related. The sun bends space and space tells Earth how to move. Earth bends space in return, and the moon listens. Light passes through this exchange like a silent observer, tracing every contour, revealing every secret. The more we study this geometry, the more it begins to resemble a kind of memory. Space-time, remembering where matter has been, remembering the dance of energy that once passed through it. The shape of the present is built upon the echoes of the past. When you look at the night sky, you are looking not into emptiness, but into form. Invisible curves connecting everything that exists. The starlight that reaches you has followed those curves faithfully, bending gently around masses, gliding through valleys of space-time carved by gravity's presence. Each beam has traveled the easiest way possible, the only way possible. There is peace in that inevitability, in knowing that everything, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy,
moves not by will or command, but by the quiet order of geometry, and so,
perhaps gravity is not a force after all, but the story of how space remembers itself. Each bend, each ripple, each orbit is a phrase in that story. The universe describing its own shape through motion. Light reads that story perfectly, translating the invisible into vision. And we, standing here, are its readers. Our minds shaped by the same geometry that bends the stars. The next time you feel the ground beneath you, think of it not as pull, but as presence. The Earth gently guiding you along the curve it carves through space-time. You are not being held down, but held in place, aligned with the pattern written into existence itself. In that awareness, gravity becomes less like a prison and more like a cradle, the soft geometry of being, and perhaps, in that realization, you might feel what Einstein felt, a quiet wonder that the universe does not push or pull, but simply shapes. Every beam of light, every grain of matter, every heartbeat within that shape moves in harmony, tracing the same invisible paths that bind the cosmos together. The dance continues, silent and eternal, where light and gravity remember one another in every curve, every fall, and every soft return to stillness. In the deep stillness between galaxies, there is a hidden pattern, a lattice so immense it threads through the very body of the universe.
It cannot be seen directly, yet every galaxy, every cluster of stars, every shimmering point of light owes its position to it.
This is the cosmic web, a vast architecture woven by gravity's quiet hand and illuminated by light's patient journey. Across billions of light years, these filaments stretch, invisible rivers of matter shaping the grand design of existence. If you could drift beyond the Milky Way, rising slowly above the spiral arms and past the faint halo of surrounding stars, you would begin to see the pattern take form. The universe at this scale does not look random. Galaxies gather in strings, their halos touching, their gravity entwined. Between them, dark matter flows like a hidden current, binding each island of light into a single, continuous whole. The cosmic web is both scaffold and shadow, gravity weaving the structure, light revealing the shape. This web began as a whisper in the aftermath of the Big Bang. When the young universe was still a sea of plasma and light, tiny fluctuations in density rippled through it, faint variations, mere 1 part in 100,000. Over billions of years, gravity amplified those differences, drawing matter together into long, delicate filaments. Where these filaments intersected, galaxies formed, clustering into luminous knots. What we see today in the grand, interconnected network of galaxies is the frozen music of those ancient ripples, gravity's slow, resonant composition played out across cosmic time. Astronomers map this web through the light that filters along its edges. They study the redshift of distant galaxies, tracing their distribution through space. They listen to the faint echo of the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of creation, to see where gravity has sculpted the largest structures. Through telescopes and simulations, the universe unfolds like an immense watercolor. Soft streaks of blue and gold connected by unseen bridges. The brightest galaxies are not scattered at random. They are pearls strung along threads of dark matter, the hidden foundation that gravity built and light gently outlines. And yet the web is not only a structure, it is a conversation between light and gravity. Gravity pulls, gathering the dust and gas that will one day ignite into stars. Light responds, shining along those paths, revealing what gravity has shaped. Each photon that leaves a distant galaxy travels along this geometry, its path slightly bent by the unseen mass that surrounds it. Through these small deflections, we detect the invisible filaments, gravity's fingerprints, traced by light's fingertips. Dark matter plays the role of the silent weaver. It neither emits nor absorbs light, but its gravity commands the motion of galaxies and the flow of cosmic gas. Like a sculptor hidden behind the curtain, it defines the outline, while light fills in the color. Without dark matter, the web would unravel, the galaxies drifting apart into a shapeless sea. With it, the universe holds together, a single organism breathing slowly through gravitational lungs. And just as the web connects galaxies, so too does it connect time. Each filament is a record of evolution, showing how structure emerged from simplicity. The same laws that bend starlight around black holes also guided the clustering of matter across billions of years. The geometry of spacetime extends beyond individual stars or planets. It reaches across cosmic distances, tying the smallest atom to the largest supercluster. The web is the manifestation of gravity's patience, an infinite architecture built one subtle curve at a time. There is poetry in the way light and gravity share this task. One binds, the other reveals.
One is the hand, the other the brush.
Without light, the web would remain unseen, an invisible network holding the universe in silence. Without gravity, light would scatter aimlessly with no pattern to trace. Together they make structure visible, existence organized by attraction, illuminated by expression. Their union is not loud, but serene, a quiet collaboration that shapes everything we know. And within that structure, we find our own place. The Milky Way sits along one such filament, nestled in the Laniakea supercluster, a vast region of interconnected galaxies drawn toward a gravitational center we cannot see. Every sunrise, every starlit night, every distant glow in the sky is part of this web's endless pattern. We are not separate from it. We are suspended within it, like dust held in a beam of light. If you could see the cosmic web as it truly is, not in narrow slices of light, but in full dimensional depth, you would behold a living structure. The filaments would shimmer faintly like neural pathways in a cosmic brain. Energy would pulse along them in waves of formation and collapse. Galaxies would flicker like synapses, their light carrying information across billions of years. The universe would appear not as a void, but as a mind, vast, interconnected, and awake in its own mysterious way. The geometry of this web hints at something profound. Gravity and light do not simply coexist, they define each other. The threads that gravity spins are made visible only through light's willingness to trace them. The galaxies that light illuminates can only exist because gravity gives them shape. It is a partnership that began in the first second of creation and continues now, as we gaze outward from our small corner of space. When you look up at the night sky, you are not seeing separate stars. You are glimpsing a single network, a universal body of connection. The distances may be vast, but the relationships are intimate. Every beam of starlight you see has followed a filament of the cosmic web to reach you. Every glimmer is a message from that grand structure, reminding you that even in apparent isolation, you are part of something continuous, something that stretches beyond imagination, yet feels softly familiar. And so, the cosmic web is not merely a pattern of galaxies. It is a reflection of balance itself. Gravity weaves, light reveals. The unseen and the visible join hands, creating harmony across the abyss. In their union, the structure of everything quietly emerges, vast, delicate, eternal. The universe breathes through these threads, and through them, we find our belonging, suspended between light and gravity, between knowing and wonder, between being and the endless fabric that holds it all. Light does not rebel, it listens. From the moment it is born in the furnace of a star, to the instant it dissolves into the darkness between galaxies, every photon moves in quiet accord with gravity's will. It bends when gravity asks it to bend. It slows when space-time deepens. It stretches its wavelength in patience, never in defiance. There is no struggle between light and gravity, only an ancient harmony, a song that the universe has been singing since time began. We often imagine light as the purest symbol of freedom, unbound, racing through the vacuum at its perfect, immutable speed. But even light is not entirely free. It follows the subtle instructions written into the geometry of space-time. When it passes a massive star, its path curves ever so slightly like a river meeting a bend in the earth. When it escapes a black hole's edge, its color reddens, its energy thins. A tired traveler climbing out of gravity's deep well.
Light does not resist this.
It adjusts humbly, as if acknowledging a greater order that it belongs to. In this obedience, there is no weakness. There is grace. The way a photon bends around a planet or drifts softly through the gravitational fields of galaxies is not submission but understanding, a kind of awareness written into the nature of the cosmos. Gravity shapes and light interprets. Together they compose a continuous dialogue between matter and motion, energy and curve. Each photon is a note in that dialogue, and every deflection, every shift, is a subtle harmony echoing across the vastness of space. Einstein once imagined this relationship as a dance, not a violent or forced one, but an elegant choreography where light and gravity move in step. Mass tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells light how to move. It is not command and obedience, but mutual trust, each partner relying on the other to keep the rhythm of existence intact. Without gravity's guidance, light would have no path. Without light's willingness to follow, gravity's form would remain unseen. Every beam of starlight you've ever looked at, from the faint glow of dusk to the fierce shimmer of distant galaxies, has been shaped by this silent collaboration. Before it touched your eyes, that light listened to gravity's quiet directions, adjusting its course through invisible curves, threading the tapestry of space-time. Even here, in the space between atoms, photons whisper to the gravity that holds the Earth together, bending infinitesimally in their descent, their journey a soft echo of the cosmic scale. To hear this obedience as song is to shift how we perceive the universe. We tend to think of physical laws as restrictions, limits that bind what can and cannot happen. But what if they are more like melody and rhythm, defining not confinement, but coherence? Light's obedience does not silence it. It allows the universe to stay in tune. Each bending ray, each slowing pulse is part of a larger composition, one that spans from the smallest particle to the largest supercluster. The laws of physics are not chains but chords, ensuring that creation remains harmonious rather than chaotic. Imagine for a moment.
Light as language, a vocabulary through which the universe expresses its balance.
Gravity writes the script and light delivers it. When gravity deepens near a massive object, light changes tone, its frequency lowers, its color reddens, its tempo slows. When gravity fades, light quickens again, regaining its brightness and energy. Across all of space-time, this modulation continues endlessly, an unbroken performance where light translates gravity's shape into something we can see,
Measure and feel, and yet there's something profoundly human in this relationship.
We too live by invisible rhythms, bound not by stars but by time, emotion, and thought. Our lives bend around unseen forces: love, memory, loss, longing. Like photons, we respond, not always freely but gracefully, to the gravity of experience. We too listen to the weight of things and adjust our paths accordingly. Light's obedience mirrors our own, and perhaps that is why it feels so beautiful. It reminds us that listening is not surrender, but participation. Every photon carries a story of where it has been and what it has passed. When it reaches us, we see not just brightness, but history, a record of gravitational encounters, a map of space-time's contours etched in frequency and direction. Astronomers, decoding these tiny shifts in wavelength, can trace entire galaxies, measure the mass of invisible clusters, and chart the bending of the cosmos itself. Light, by listening so faithfully, reveals the universe's hidden structure, and in its listening, light teaches something essential about understanding. To listen deeply, whether to gravity, to another person, or to the quiet within ourselves, is to allow shape to emerge naturally. The photon does not impose its will. It follows the curve and by doing so illuminates it. So too can we illuminate the world by following its contours with awareness, not resistance. Light's journey reminds us that truth is not found in force, but in attention. When we look into the night sky, we are not merely witnessing illumination. We are witnessing devotion. Every photon reaching our eyes has crossed gulfs of time and gravity, guided gently by the fabric of space-time itself. It has listened perfectly, and in doing so it has survived the unimaginable. Perhaps that is what light's true lesson is. Not brilliance, but patience. The ability to travel vast distances, to endure endless bending and yet arrive still shining. In the end, the universe is not a machine of strict rules, but a symphony of relationships. Light listens, gravity composes, and together they create the shape of everything. If we could hear their conversation, the gentle curvature of space, the stretching of time, the whisper of photons bowing in motion, it might sound like the softest music ever made. The song of obedience that is, in truth, the song of understanding. The sound of light listening. There are four great forces that weave the universe together: gravity, electromagnetism, and the two quiet companions that bind the atomic heart. Yet among them, two seem destined to meet again and again: gravity and light. They live in different realms, one sculpting the vastness of space, the other painting it with illumination. But listen closely, and you may hear the faint whisper where they overlap, where curvature meets vibration, and energy learns to sing the shape of existence. Gravity does not shout. It speaks in the soft bending of paths, the warping of time, the slow swirl of galaxies that takes billions of years to form a single sentence. Electromagnetism, by contrast, is restless, a flicker, a hum, a pulse that defines the very rhythm of atoms and light. It is the heartbeat of radiation, the shimmer in every sunrise, the invisible hand that shapes electricity, magnetism, and the glow of stars. Yet, for all their differences, both forces share something profound. They are sculptors of motion, shapers of rhythm, curvatures expressed through energy. To see how they speak to each other, imagine the universe as a single, fluid fabric. Space-time stretching and rippling in 4 dimensions. Gravity curves that fabric. Light moves through it, following its folds, tracing its gentle deformations. When a photon travels near a massive object, it does not just bend because gravity commands it. It bends because space-time itself is no longer straight. Light, being both wave and particle, rides those invisible contours like a melody following a harmony already written. The song exists before the note is played. In electromagnetism, the story is different, but the music is familiar. Electric and magnetic fields are not static entities. They dance around one another, oscillating in perfect synchrony. A changing electric field gives birth to a magnetic one, and that in turn creates another electric field, a cycle of mutual creation that moves at the speed of light. This is how every photon is born, a self-sustaining vibration of the electromagnetic field, pure energy in motion. And when this vibration crosses the curved fabric of space-time, it becomes aware of gravity's rhythm, just as a voice changes tone when sung across a valley or through a cathedral's echo. Perhaps this is the whisper between forces. They do not collide or merge, but listen. Gravity hums the structure. Electromagnetism fills it with tone. Where one sculpts, the other illuminates. It is not opposition, but complement. The geometry of one mirrored in the vibration of the other. Both express curvature, gravity through space, electromagnetism through field. Both express motion, gravity through orbits and tides, electromagnetism through oscillation and radiance. They are 2 languages describing one story, that of energy unfolding across dimension. In the early universe, before the first atoms formed, these forces were not as distant as they seem today. The cosmos was a sea of energy so dense and hot that distinctions blurred. Gravity, electromagnetism, even the nuclear forces, all were threads of a single unified field, a single breath before separation. Physicists call this the quest for unification, the dream of finding one equation that could describe all of existence. But perhaps, in a way, the universe has already shown us the outline of that unity, not in formulas, but in feeling. For every time gravity bends, light reveals. Every time space-time ripples, photons carry the echo outward. When a star collapses into a black hole, it's gravity that completes the act, but it's light that tells the story. In those final moments, photons scream their last messages before vanishing beyond the event horizon. Gravity folds them into silence, but not before electromagnetism gives them voice. And when 2 black holes merge, their collision sends gravitational waves through space-time, ripples vast and subtle, trembling the cosmic web itself.
Light again follows. Gamma rays, X-rays, radio bursts in as if answering in another octave.
Each wave, whether of space or field, is a different instrument in the same cosmic orchestra. It's tempting to imagine a conversation between the 2, gravity asking, "What will you illuminate?" and light replying, "The shape you leave behind." Every lensing of a galaxy, every curve of starlight, every shift in color and brightness. These are the visible words of an invisible dialogue. Gravity creates the stage, electromagnetism performs upon it. Their partnership gives the universe its duality, the structure and the story, the frame and the flame. Even within our own lives, this relationship plays out in miniature. Gravity keeps us grounded. Light lets us see the world that grounding creates, the pull of the earth and the flicker of the sun. Together they define the rhythm of every day. We live suspended between these 2 cosmic languages, both guiding and revealing us. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought sparked by a neuron's electric pulse, all are quiet, reflections of the same interplay between field and form. physicists, have long sought the theory of everything, the elegant bridge that unites these forces completely. Yet perhaps the connection has never truly been hidden. Harmony does not need fusion to exist. The whisper between gravity and electromagnetism is not a merging of identity but a resonance of intent. They move in step because the universe itself prefers coherence. The way a chord resolves, the way a pendulum finds balance, the way light bends without breaking. If we could slow the universe down enough to hear it, maybe this is what we'd find: gravity speaking in long, slow bass tones, deep curves that define the measure of time, and electromagnetism answering in high, shimmering notes that paint each moment with light. Between them, a resonance, low and high, weight and motion, curve and wave, completing one another. That resonance is the whisper between forces, the soft reminder that all of creation is a single, breathing system, endlessly exchanging its own understanding. And so the photon listens to the curve listens to the wave. The conversation continues across billions of light years, carried in the silence between stars. The language is not one of words, nor even of equations, but of balance, a quiet, ceaseless affirmation that gravity and light are two reflections of one truth, that everything in existence, from the smallest particle to the grandest galaxy, is held together not by domination or separation, but by harmony. The universe does not merely function, it sings. Gravity hums the depth, electromagnetism hums the brightness, and somewhere between their vibrations, where curvature and energy share a single breath, lies the whisper that keeps the cosmos alive. Every age of science has carried its own melody, the steady hum of inquiry, the rising chord of discovery, the soft decrescendo of humility. Yet even now, as our equations stretch toward the edges of understanding, a single phrase remains incomplete. We have learned to describe the curvature of space-time, to trace the trembling of atoms, to measure the faintest echoes of creation. But between the vast and the tiny, between gravity's slow music and quantum mechanics' quick rhythm, a silence lingers.
That silence is not ignorance.
It is anticipation, the quiet between two notes waiting to become one. Einstein dreamed of unification, of a single language that could speak for both the falling apple and the flickering photon. He spent decades listening for that harmony, certain that the same principle that curved galaxies must also whisper within the dance of particles. Yet gravity and quantum mechanics have refused to align neatly. One describes smoothness, the continuous flow of space-time. The other speaks in abrupt steps, probabilities, and uncertainty. One is a symphony of geometry, the other a jazz of vibration. And still, we sense they are playing the same piece, just on instruments tuned to different scales of being. In the quantum world, space is not a gentle fabric, but a restless ocean of fluctuations. Particles appear and vanish in the blink of probability. Waves overlap, collapse, reform. It is a music of immediacy, of motion too fine for human perception. Gravity, meanwhile, moves with the patience of centuries, bending light, shaping planets, defining time itself. To bring these two together is to unite rhythm and tone, heartbeat and horizon. It is to compose the unfinished symphony of reality. Some believe the key lies in quantum gravity, the elusive theory that could merge Einstein's continuum with the discreteness of the quantum. String theory envisions all matter as vibrating filaments, tiny strings whose harmonics give birth to particles and forces alike. In its mathematics, gravity emerges not as a foreign element, but as one note in a cosmic chord. The vibrations that form photons and electrons also create the graviton, a hypothetical particle that carries the whisper of spacetime's curvature. If true, then the universe itself is built from sound, a literal music of matter, a resonance that began with the Big Bang and never ceased. Others look elsewhere, to loop quantum gravity, to holographic principles, to the strange possibility that space-time itself is woven from quantum information. In these visions, geometry is not fundamental. It is born from entanglement, from the invisible connections between distant points of reality. Space becomes a melody of relationships, not a stage. Gravity is not an external force, but the harmony that arises when those relationships stay in tune. Each theory is a new attempt to hear the same music through a different instrument, a new way to describe how the infinite and the infinitesimal sing to each other. But even the most beautiful equations feel incomplete without awe. Mathematics may describe, but wonder interprets. The truth of unification may not be a single formula at all, but the realization that every scientific pursuit is an act of listening, of attuning the mind to a deeper rhythm that predates language. The cosmos is not divided between forces and fields, particles and waves. It is one continuous breath, inhaled as gravity, exhaled as light, vibrating endlessly between order and possibility. Perhaps the universe itself does not seek completion. Perhaps it only seeks resonance. Consider the silence between heartbeats, the pause between two thoughts, the stillness before dawn. In those moments, the same pattern exists: potential waiting for expression, tension resolving into calm. Physicists may call it equilibrium. Poets might call it grace. Either way, it is the same symmetry that guides galaxies into spirals and photons into waves. It is the same balance that allows existence to persist, not as chaos or command, but as conversation. When we look up at the night sky, we are seeing not just light that has traveled for billions of years, but also the echo of that unfinished song. Each star hums in gravity's key. Each photon resonates with electromagnetism's tone. Between them lies the rest, the pause, the interval, the waiting measure that gives the melody its depth. The missing theory, the bridge we keep searching for, might not be missing at all. It might simply be the silence that allows everything else to be heard. Einstein once said that the most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. In that sense, the unfinished symphony of physics is not a flaw in our knowledge, but a feature of being itself. For if everything were understood, if every chord were resolved, the music would end. The universe would stop becoming and merely be. And perhaps that stillness, that completion, sometimes is not what life or light or gravity desires. So we continue listening. We build instruments, telescopes, colliders, equations, all tuned to the same question: how do the small and the vast belong to one another? And in every new discovery, every refinement, we hear the echo of the same refrain: there is more to learn, more to listen for, more silence to understand. Maybe the final unification will not come as a formula, but as a feeling, the deep, wordless recognition that everything sings the same song. That space curves, particles dance, time hums, and light listens, all bound within one infinite measure.
Until then, the symphony plays on.
Each theory adds a note, each observation a harmony. The music remains unfinished but not incomplete. For what makes it beautiful is not its ending, but its endlessness, and so we drift within it. Listeners, players, echoes. Each of us a fleeting vibration in the great unresolved chord of creation. Somewhere beyond the noise of the world, light continues its patient journey. It drifts through the vastness, through gravity's soft hands and the slow curvature of space, carrying with it a memory older than stars, older than time, measured by our kind. Every photon that reaches you tonight has followed invisible instructions, the geometry of existence itself, tracing the quiet shapes carved by matter, motion, and mystery. And when it finally lands gently upon your skin or in your eyes, it brings with it the story of where it has been.
Light remembers.
not in the way a mind does with thoughts or images, but in the quiet precision of its path.
Every curve it takes, every shift in color, every delay in time, all of it encodes the memory of what gravity once whispered.
When light bends around a star, it records that encounter in its direction. When it stretches through cosmic expansion, it carries the echo of the universe's breath. And when it finally reaches us billions of years later, it speaks that memory through color and distance. To see light is to read a history written in the smallest instant, a diary of space itself. We began this journey with a question. One whispered softly into the dark. What invisible thread ties gravity and light together? And over these quiet chapters, we have watched that thread unfold, not as a single cord, but as a fabric woven from curves, echoes, and reverent silences. We learned that gravity is not a pull, but a shape, that light is not merely illumination, but obedience, that time itself can tilt beneath the weight of energy, and that even in the blackest mirror of a black hole, the dialogue continues.
Every moment, every beam, every shadow has been part of that conversation.
Now, as we reach the edge of this quiet voyage, we find that the answer was never hidden, only slow, like a dawn that refuses to hurry. The thread between gravity and light is not force, but understanding. It is the way space tells light where to go, and the way light reveals space by going there. It is the gentle call and response that builds the visible from the invisible, the real from the abstract. Light travels through the curves that gravity draws, and gravity, in turn, is seen only because light remembers where it has been. Every star you see tonight, even the faintest one, is a messenger from the past, carrying not only its own radiance, but the imprint of the space it crossed. Its light has been bent by galaxies, softened by clouds of dust, red-shifted by time itself. And still it arrives, fragile, faithful, unbroken. When you gaze upward, you are not merely looking at light. You are witnessing the story of the universe telling itself. You are seeing the geometry of everything that has ever existed, written in a script of photons and gravity. Consider this, the light that touches your hand this moment may have been born in the heart of a star long before Earth formed. It may have drifted through the emptiness for eons, through gravitational wells and interstellar tides, until finally, improbably, it met you. That simple contact, that flicker of perception, is a reunion. You are the surface upon which the memory of the cosmos is read.
In you, the journey completes itself.
The story that began as a burst of energy now ends as awareness. And perhaps this is the quiet truth that all science leads to, that knowing the universe is not about control or mastery, but about participation. You are not separate from the laws that shape the stars. You are the result of them. The gravity that guides the galaxies also holds you here, gently, to the Earth. The light that curves around distant suns also illuminates the pattern of your veins. Every breath you take is timed by the same physics that bends starlight. Every heartbeat is a rhythm set by the same clock that measures cosmic time. When you think of the cosmos, do not imagine something beyond you.
Imagine something through you.
The same space that allows galaxies to move allows your thoughts to exist. The same curvature that bends light also shapes your sense of direction, your sense of time, your sense of wonder. To study gravity and light is to study the architecture of belonging. It is to understand that you are not simply in the universe, you are of it. Light remembers, and so do you. Somewhere within your atoms lies the residue of ancient stars, the quiet echo of nuclear fires that once burned in silence. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all forged in the same furnaces that light escaped from. And that light, in its journey, has been bent and carried and reshaped by gravity's gentle insistence. The universe is not a distant story. It is an inheritance passed down through beams and waves, through orbits and echoes, until it reached this moment, this breath, this thought, this listening. As you sit beneath the soft hum of night, you might imagine the photons falling now across your window or your closed eyelids. They have traveled unimaginable distances to arrive here, carrying news from the edges of time. And in their arrival, they offer a kind of peace, a reminder that everything moves according to a larger rhythm, one that requires no control, no struggle, only presence. The universe does not hurry. It unfolds, it curves, it hums, it remembers. And as we bring this long, quiet exploration to rest, I want to thank you, not as a host, but as a fellow traveler. Thank you for drifting through these ideas, for sharing these nights, for letting curiosity and calm coexist. This journey through light and gravity has always been more than science. It has been a meditation on existence, on how even the most distant stars can make us feel at home in the vastness. If you found stillness here, if these quiet stories have kept you company in the gentle hours of the night, consider joining the circle, subscribing, liking, or simply returning. Each small gesture helps keep this calm space alive, this place where knowledge and peace can meet. To those who have been here before, who have listened from bedrooms, balconies, and hospital halls, thank you. You are the reason this light continues to travel. And so we close the loop we opened long ago. Gravity tells light where to go. Light tells us where gravity has been. Together they weave the visible out of the unseen. And somewhere within that weaving, in the soft meeting of starlight and thought, you exist. You too are a curve in space.
A ripple in light.
A brief shining memory the universe keeps. The story continues even when the words end. The photons keep moving. The gravity keeps shaping. The silence keeps listening. And perhaps tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you can feel that. The quiet assurance that everything, everywhere, is still connected. So, wherever you are, under city skies, beside the sea, or in the solitude of your room, remember that the light that finds you has traveled 1 billion years just to arrive now.
And in that arrival it recognizes you.
You are part of its path, part of its purpose, part of its remembering. Good night, from all of us here at Late Night Science. May the light that reaches you tonight remind you how deeply you belong to the cosmos that made you, and how gently, forever, it remembers.